Our friend Jon Hamm, who returns to the show. How are you, John?
Hey, I'm here.
How are you, John? You good?
You know what I think is funny, and I didn't really put this together, but
Sure.
I think the NFL is simply trolling me because they've now had both franchises that left my hometown of St. Louis on All or Nothing and had me do the voiceover. I think it's a not so subtle slap in the face.
Well,
And yet I went along with it.
well, here's the silver lining, John. Is I think we flat out run out of teams that left St. Louis for you to narrate their All or Nothing
Fair,
series.
unless the NBA comes calling and we have the Hawks or the Spirits, I think you're right. Or the Major Indoor Soccer League Steamers,
That's right.
the unfortunately named St. Louis Steamers.
Hey,
Oh boy!
what did they play, John? What did the Steamers
Oh,
play?
they're in the MISL, the Major Indoor Soccer League. Come on, that was a thing in the '80s.
That's
you
right.
Could watch soccer played on a hockey rink.
Hey, maybe what we could do, John, is get one of those old school St. Louis Cardinals annual videos, and we'll erase Bob Costas' track, and you could do like the Jim Hart years. You could redo it, John. What do you think of that idea?
The Jim Hart, yeah. There were like a ton of highlights from the '70s in the football Cardinals oeuvre, but even so.
Well, how are
you, pal?
I'm good, man. You are so. I mean, that Baby Driver. You know, first of all, I'll be honest. I was thrown off a little bit because there are no babies actually driving in this film, John. You know?
No, there aren't. And when I first started the movie, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a really fun movie about a prodigy infant golf
Yes.
prodigy. And I'm like, I'd love to see a little kid with like a 38-inch driver just teeing it high and letting it fly. But I was, by about the fourth or fifth page, I realized, okay, it's a different thing.
Oh my gosh.
No, we're super happy with it. You know, the reviews have been great, and I heard what you said on the segment before about it, and people I think are really excited to see it. It's not a sequel, and it's not a reboot, and it's not it's just an original story with some interesting folks in it, told in a really cool way. It's an action film kind of set to music, and the action, as you well know, in it is very intense, and there's some funny parts to it and some really scary parts to it too. But you know, it's a real interesting, unique movie, and I think for some reason people are into seeing something that they haven't seen before in some version or other.
Yeah,
you know?
and I want to, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't seen it yet or doesn't know about it yet. But you just bring up how the music, it's so important because, you know, when they see the actor who's playing the Baby Driver, Ansel Elgort, and he's got earbuds in his ear, it's just he's constantly listening to music that sometimes actually matches up with the beat of the acting or the action that's on the screen, or it just enhances everything. And you mentioned how you read the script. How does that read? How did you know what would be such a crucial part of the?
It's interesting. You know, I was kind of the first person to sign on to it. I've known Edgar for close to 10 years now, and he has had this script kicking around for almost 20. And he gave me a version of it, and then said, "But I want to give it to you with these tracks included." And so he had a little attachment on the PDF file that was all these songs. And I was like, I didn't know half of them, but I was like, wait a minute, what's this all about? And he's like, well, whenever you see a little thing in the script that says track whatever, play that track. Like, okay. And so you're reading a script, and then all of a sudden you click a thing, and then you're reading the description of a chase scene, and you know, Bell Bottoms is going on, or Brighton Rock, or any one of these like really cool versions of songs that you kind of think you've heard before, or samples that you've heard before. I mean, the music is phenomenal, and it's not just a rehash of like old '80s pop songs that are funny because they're ironic. They're actually interesting new songs from older bands that you might not have heard of. So it's a departure in that way too. You know, it's not just even the music side of it was kind of curated with with great intention by Edgar.
And, and then there's one scene, again, I'm not trying not to spoil it, where it's particularly intense, and you being a badass in this movie and a nasty character, and it involves a Barry White song that normally wouldn't be the soundtrack to the scene. It really is awesome, John, and I could not recommend it.
Thanks.
Any.
And thanks for seeing it. Yeah, no, I can't implore people enough to go out and see it. I really do think, especially I'm in Atlanta right now, and it is pouring rain, and it's supposed to pour all holiday weekend. But I mean, if you're in a hot part of the country, go to the movie theater and see this movie. It's an hour and a half of your life that you will really enjoy.
It's great.
And it will also be non-sweaty.
Jon Hamm joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. I'm about to make the segue. Are you ready, John? I don't want you to get hurt.
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Now let's move to baby quarterbacks and Jared Goff, everybody. Hey, now.
Oh, boy.
Hey.
That's well done.
Now, I take
thrower.
I take the baby thrower. Even better. Even better. Or baby
Spiral?
Well, I mean, he could be a driver of the football. He could be.
Sure.
Jared Goff.
Baby 2-minute drill, baby drive. You drive it that 2 minutes.
He could do that.
A long way to go.
Sure. But the segue is complete at the very least. All or Nothing, Amazon Prime Video. It's available for streaming today. And there was actually a very moving video that was tweeted out, and I know you're not on Twitter, of Jeff Fisher informing his coaching staff that he had been fired. And Mike Singletary's involved in the scene. It's really intense. What was it like from your perspective doing the narrating of the Los Angeles Rams?
I got to say, the thing I really love about All or Nothing is it's not Hard Knocks, right? It's not the thing where you don't know what's going on. Like, this is kind of a recap of a season that we've already seen. But you get this, like, incredibly bird's eye view of what goes on behind the scenes and the stuff that you really don't see. And that's a perfect example of it, Rich. Like, you see this thing and you go, oh, man, like, you've seen 10 episodes of these guys going through it with this guy, and from other stuff that you know about of living through preseason and living through all that stuff, and you just think, like the guy, it's time for the guy to go. And everyone's like, well, now what? And it's devastating for everybody involved. I mean, even from the ownership standpoint, you understand why they hang on to these coaches for so long, because you don't want to pull the trigger too soon. These guys are family; they go through the fire together, and there's a trust that's built up, and there's a shorthand, and there's a lot of intangibles that are there, and you never want to pull that trigger too early. And then, of course, sometimes business being what it is, you have to do it. So I think the Rams are at an interesting point right now, and I think to your point, that was what was so honestly like emotional about that scene, was just watching from all points of view, and that's the cool thing about the show. Like, you get a look into this crazy business of the NFL that everyone has some kind of emotional connection to, but you get a real in-depth look at it. That's why I love doing it.
So which team do you root for? The Arizona Cardinals, John? Is that the team that you kind of pay attention to? Which team is it?
Kind of,
in the NFL?
I guess.
Okay.
I really don't root for any team, one team in particular. I kind of root for good games and always the underdog. But that's pretty much it.
Okay. And that new stadium that's down there in Atlanta looks ridiculous. It looks spectacular.
Well, you were mentioning my voice credits. You conspicuously neglected to mention that I am the North American voice of Mercedes-Benz, the new home of the Atlanta Falcons. So I may be contractually obligated to root for the Falcons. But yeah, the stadium is unbelievable. I just saw like a whole 3D mock-up. Like, literally, I just came from doing voiceover.
Yeah.
And they had this whole virtual reality mock-up of the thing. It is spectacular.
Yeah, I heard
unbelievable.
that the stadium
it looks like origami.
Yeah, it does. You're right. It does look like a nest is really what I think they're going for. And then the in stadium. I always call it Diamond Vision. That just shows you my I guess my age.
Nice.
In a way,
Yeah, from the Astrodome, sure.
Yeah, right. Yes, let them play. Let the Toros and the Bears play. Let them play. God bless William Devane. What a great manager he was for the Bad News Bears, huh?
Oh, he really was. He handled the Bears. Chico's bail bonds couldn't have made a better move.
That's right. But I guess the in-stadium the screen goes around like a ribbon around the entire stadium. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, it's bananas.
Hey, look, I'm looking forward to All or Nothing, and we had Andy Samberg on before, wanted me to send his best to you since you are the voice of all his documentaries on HBO. So
yes, it's HBO Sports mockumentary.
Indeed.
This one is very funny. Finally taking on big cycling.
With Mike Tyson and Felicia Rashad. The only way it can be taken on with Mike Tyson.
Belgians are going to be very angry about this whole takedown, trust me.
And congrats again on Baby Driver, John. It truly is a special movie, and I loved it. It started and then it ended, and I had no idea how long the movie was. It was great, really.
Oh, that's great news. Well, for the record, it's 112 minutes. I'm telling you, you'll get through your popcorn, you'll enjoy it. It's fantastic. I'm not kidding. I you know me for many, many years. You know I'm not an effusive guy, but this is one that I'm very proud of, and I think people are really going to enjoy. Perfect, like holiday weekend escapist entertainment.
And driving the 405 was a different experience today. Seriously, like I was watching the traffic in front of me with a different eye. With a totally different eye.
You were feeling it. I love it.
I was. I really was. And thanks for calling back in. I need closure on phone calls when calls drop out, John. So thanks for calling back in.
I understand it. If no one likes to drop a phone call, Rich.
Please. You take care, John. We'll chat soon.
All right. My best to the family, and it's always nice to talk to you. And thanks for seeing the film.
You bet. That's Jon Hamm.
The Rich Eisen Show. Weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you liked some of that, get some more of that on the Rich Eisen Show app. Follow all the information you see right here on the Rich Eisen Show.